mysterious signals from mysterious places. Here are 10 signals from space that show we might not be alone. Number 10. A cosmic tone never before heard, except in Canada. A new Canadian telescope, nicknamed CHIME in Western Canada, has monitored repeating radio frequencies from deep space that are believed not to be made by human life. As we now know, signals hitting Earth from outer space aren't new. Sometimes they're from a forgotten Russian satellite probe. What's strange about this set of chimes is the fact that they repeat on a schedule. A tone, heard here for 4 days straight, pulsing, then silence for 12 days. Then the sequence starts again. Some experts are not convinced, like Paul Delaney, a physics and astronomy professor based in Toronto, Canada. He thinks it's a star emitting radio waves that's passing behind another star in sequence, similarly to how the Earth orbits the Sun. This causes the signal to be transmitted for 4 days when the line between it and Earth is clear, and for the signal to be blocked when the star is behind whatever is disrupting the transmission. Still, there's no clear answer yet. Number 9. Soviet alien search. Russia's first deep space exploration for life came in the form of a galactic radio transmission in the early 1960s. In Moscow in 1963, astrophysicist Nikolai Kardashev found an unidentified radio emission from quasar CTA-102. His early work initially led him to believe that this emission could be from a civilization 100,000 years more advanced than that of humans, from someone who could harness the power of stars, black holes, or the cosmic radiation of entire galaxies. It birthed the Kardashev scale theory, but it was later found that the most likely explanation was within the quasar itself. A quasar, in simple terms, features an intensely bright nucleus surrounded by a supermassive black hole, much heavier than our Sun, that releases electromagnetic radiation. That radiation varies constantly and can be misinterpreted as signals when studied by equipment that unintentionally intercepts it. Number 8. A quasi-crystal from outer space. In 1979 in Siberia, a meteorite hit Earth carrying a strange payload, never before seen by humans. It was a rare metal formation called a quasi-crystal, which features 60 points of rotational symmetry made of aluminum, copper, and iron, not found to occur in nature on Earth. Some space authors believe that this meteorite was sent by an advanced set of beings trying to teach humans the ways to master technology and materials not yet discovered by man. Princeton University astronomy researchers noted the quasi-crystal is not from Earth or nearby planets, and that the natural quasi-crystal was most likely formed during the early days of the solar system, roughly 4.5 billion years ago. There has been no further breakthrough on locating exactly where the quasi-crystal came from, how it was formed almost 5 billion years ago, or how to replicate it with today's technology. Number 7. The floating rock that some scientists believe is actually an alien spaceship. Oumuamua roughly translates to first-time visitor from far away, and is the first interstellar object to be discovered after entering our own solar system. Some researchers think it is an alien instrument designed either for transport or exploration via scientific probe, kind of like NASA's Voyager 1 deep space probe. Including one from Harvard University, Abraham Leob, the department chair of the school's astronomy wing. He says he can't think of many possibilities because it does not act like a comet. It doesn't have a tail, and it is not affected by gravity like other comets are that have been observed. One theory on its strange trajectory is that Oumuamua uses sunlight as a form of propulsion, which was proven possible with Japan's solar sail, which has flown past Venus powered by the sun alone. The problem is that solar sails are extremely light, as the sun's rays' energy in terms of propulsion is weaker than even the slightest gust of wind on Earth. Solar sails are infinitely lighter than the large interstellar rock that makes up Oumuamua, so that theory is out too. There may be some more objects like Oumuamua that were never seen passing by Earth. NASA astronomers estimate that an interstellar object similar to Oumuamua passes through the inner solar system about once per year, but they are faint and hard to spot and have been missed until now. It is only recently that survey telescopes have become powerful enough to have a chance to discover them. Number 6. An entire galaxy lurking in the shadows. Astronomers have given Galaxy X its name because even though it's been discovered, much less about it is known than any other. That's because the only reason we know about it is because of 4 bright stars that shine out of the gloom that sends the message of the entire galaxy's existence. For reference, astronomers estimate that our galaxy contains between 100 billion and 400 billion stars today. The prevailing theory for Galaxy X's elusiveness is that it is comprised almost entirely of dark matter, a sort of invisible glue that holds galaxies together. In normal galaxies, this dark matter is peppered with visible stars and hot gas strung out like Christmas lights. In Galaxy X, it's as if all the lights have been turned off or broken. The secrets that Galaxy X holds could teach humans more about dark matter, which is thought to account for about 80% of the matter in the known universe. This dark matter problem is a bit like spotting a dark sweater at the back of a clothing rack. You know it's there, but without touching it or looking at the tag, you have no idea what it's made of. Before we move on, be sure to subscribe to Daily Top 10s with notifications on so you don't miss any of our videos. Number 5. Fast Radio Burst FRB 121102. As we saw from the CHIME telescope in Canada, FRBs or fast radio bursts are still a long way away from being understood by humans today. A burst known as FRB 121102, a burst being sent from a small galaxy about 3 billion light-years away, was repeated and intercepted by instruments on Earth 93 times in a single day in August 2017. Scientists concluded that one event could not produce radio signals for that long, that something or someone had to be controlling it. Unfortunately, questions like who or what was controlling it, or what it could have meant, perhaps a message, remain unanswered today. Some theories say FRBs are caused by fluctuations in energy from quasars, or from material falling into black holes, but again, nothing is confirmed yet. Another problem plaguing researchers is determining exactly where in the solar system these signals are coming from. Since light doesn't evenly reach the deep throes of space, we can't always see the things we're studying. So, if something is out there, sending signals to Earth, we might be able to hear it, but not see it. Senior SETI astronomer Seth Shostak says the power of this emission cannot be underestimated. He said, "When FRB 121102 burped into space, the most advanced form of life on Earth was sea scum, meaning this signal has been traveling longer than humans have existed, from outside of the Milky Way." Number 4. A reported alien abduction. Tom Reed, a man from Sheffield, Massachusetts, says he and a friend were temporarily abducted by aliens in 1969. He said one hot summer day took a strange turn when he and his mother, grandmother, and brother saw a bright light rise out of the water of the Housatonic River. Reed described an orb emitting light, probably 30 yards around, with big rods of light spilling out from it. Reed said his family was taken out of their car and put in what looked like an airplane hangar, with large insect-like creatures milling around as they examined him on some sort of operating table setup. He was separated from his mother and grandmother when taken to this strange room, though he could hear his family calling his name out from a place he could not see. Then, as quickly as it had happened, everything was over and the Reed family was all back in the car, no UFO to be found. A strange tale indeed, but Tom wasn't the only person that night who saw something weird. 40 people reported strange lights and a saucer-like object in the sky to a local radio station that night, and when Reed took a polygraph test, he was found to be 99.1% truthful. For this reason, the Great Barrington Historical Society voted 6-3 to recognize the encounter as historically significant and true. It was the first time a UFO encounter has had this kind of recognition. A site was erected in commemoration of the first historically true UFO encounter in the United States. It's called the Tom Reed UFO Monument Park, and once featured a 5,000-pound granite monument before it was removed due to a squabble between Reed and the town board over whether the monument was a legal, historic commemorative work. Number 3. Nikola Tesla's reach into the great unknown. Colorado Springs, 1899, July. Nikola Tesla claimed to have received a transmission from an unknown source. Beeps, but was not Morse code. He believed it was communication from Mars. He wrote about it in a newspaper, Collier's Weekly, but was laughed off by his peers as a mad scientist who had probably been shocked by electricity one too many times for his own good. He thought he was receiving messages from Mars. It's a theory that has some precedent. About every 2 years, Mars comes into much closer orbit to Earth, which means that if something were trying to make contact with Earth, that would be prime time to do it. That summer in 1899 was one of those windows of communication. Tesla didn't say much more about his supposed contact with the red planet, so we're left to wonder what the electrical engineering genius thinks he had discovered so long ago. Number 2. Scientists investigate strange radio signal from deep space. Russia's Ratan 600 telescope was the first instrument to pick up the deep space radio waves. It is the world's largest diameter individual radio telescope. Measuring, it comprises an over 600-yard diameter circle, comprised of rectangular radio reflectors and a set of secondary reflectors and receivers, based at an altitude of 3,000 feet in Zelenchukskaya, Russia. It happened in May in 2015, and since then, researchers in Russia have been trying to trace who or what sent that signal. The signal of unknown origin appears to be from a solar system called Star HD 164595, 94 light-years away from Earth. The star is similar to our Sun and has a planet the size of Neptune orbiting it, although that planet is not considered able to support life. There has yet to be a breakthrough on the mysterious signal, but some have their doubts of the legitimacy of the hunt. YouTube science commentator Anton Petrov says it's likely that without realizing it, that Russian telescope belonging to SETI actually picked up a signal from a Russia satellite that was in the same solar system at that time. Petrov's theory says the signal is consistent with human technology, a military satellite possibly, as have happened in the past when discussing SETI detections. It's happened before, as Russia has been known to launch secret satellites with new technologies, unbeknownst to the rest of the world. A Russian Soyuz rocket launched in June of 2017 that was capable of breaking off and launching new satellites while already suspended in outer space. It's commonly referred to in intelligence communities as a Russian nesting doll satellite. It was eventually confirmed by Russia's space authorities, but only after the secret mission was discovered by others. Its capabilities are largely unknown outside of those in Russia with the right clearance. It sparked the Trump administration into action, with talks of a militarized space force to be formed in response to a potential security threat from programs like Russia's orbiting nesting dolls. Before we move on to number 1, we have a couple quick honorable mentions that didn't make the list. Honorable Mention 1. August 26, 1946. A U.S. expedition called Operation High Jump leaves for the South Pole led by Admiral Richard Byrd. It was a massive military operation featuring 13 ships, 33 planes, and 4,700 men. During the trip, rumor has it that Admiral Byrd ran into 2 very distinct kinds of enemies. One was a group of Nazis on the run, and the second were aliens that seemed to come straight from the depths of the frozen ocean waters themselves. Byrd's report in 1947 said that enemy was an intruder from space and that they could fly from pole to pole of the Earth in the blink of an eye. And as a result, his group suffered tremendous casualties to an advanced enemy. Almost 70 years later, Byrd's description of that aircraft came to relevance again when a contrail split the Earth in half lengthwise from tip to tip. Contrails are what you see when a jet or other flying object leaves a vapor trail behind it as it burns fuel. They typically disappear in 15 to 30 minutes. That means the craft that made the uninterrupted contrail must have been traveling around 50,000 miles per hour to make that trail. While there is no photo of the craft that left it behind, the existence of that contrail makes Admiral Byrd sound a lot less crazy than he may have seemed at first. Honorable mention 2. Nobody believed what Tom DeLonge, former Blink-182 guitarist, was saying as something he genuinely felt when the band came out with the song Aliens Exist. Nobody knew back then how serious DeLonge was. The guitarist, who stopped playing with Blink in 2014, has become one of the most prominent UFO researchers in the country. He co-founded To the Stars Academy of Arts and Sciences, a company dedicated to UFO research, which received credibility first in 2017 when the New York Times reported on its work exposing the Pentagon's mysterious UFO program, and then again in September when the US Navy called declassified videos published by To the Stars, along with the New York Times, unidentified aerial phenomena. Researchers saw it as a breakthrough moment, the government acknowledging the existence of the objects in the videos and that they don't know what they are. "We have kind of been pressing hard to have something like this happen," DeLonge said in an interview with music magazine Rolling Stone after the Pentagon's announcement. "We're a young startup, but this is the year I feel that things are really igniting," he said. Number 1. The Lonnie Zamora Incident. The Lonnie Zamora incident was an alleged UFO close encounter which occurred on Friday, April 24, 1964, at about 5:50 p.m. on the outskirts of Socorro, New Mexico. Lonnie Zamora, a Socorro police officer who was on duty at the time, said he saw the unidentified flying object. To this day, he has provided the most detailed eyewitness account of what happened that late April afternoon. He said there was burnt vegetation at the landing site, indents in the ground where the alien unidentified craft had landed on Earth, some metal stampings, and broken rock that had been damaged by the alien craft, and more. Evidence which was turned over and examined by local law enforcement, the military, and even hobbyist civilian UFO interest groups. The event and its body of evidence is sometimes deemed one of the best documented and most perplexing UFO reports, one that the government is on record as admitting to taking seriously. The US Army, US Air Force, and FBI all had their hands on a supposedly years-long investigation into the incident, but the results of many of those investigations remain highly classified to this day. No conclusions have been drawn from this report, but it's so significant because it's one of the few examples of government officials publicly taking the possibility of alien life